He was a footballing beast at the height of his abilities, in addition to being the most vicious athlete on the planet. However, in order to truly comprehend Zlatan's prime, we must first take a brief historical detour. Zlatan, who was born on October 3, 1981, started his professional career at Malmo. Even at an early age, it was clear that he had a once-in-a-generation talent. You see, although Zlatan had a tall build and was larger than most of his friends as a child, he was incredibly agile. He was an excellent dribbler and could move fast with the ball. When you combine it with goal-scoring prowess, you got a player who was drawing attention from all over the world. Zlatan stated that he declined a first tryout that was scheduled to take place at Arsenal. "I was told to do a trial by Arsene Wenger. Zlatan doesn't do trials," I added. Huge balls for a man who wasn't even 18. Zlatan eventually signed his first professional deal with Malmo, but it didn't take long for him to decide on his next transfer. It was at this new club that he made his major public debut. Zlatan became well known in the game after the 2004 goal against Narbreda. Zlatan scored 48 goals in his 110 games for Ajax, and the thing about these goals was their quality. He was an expert in finishing in a variety of methods. What a kind person. Zlatan then managed to get a transfer to Juventus. Zlatan won the league twice while he was in Turin, but even though he scored the goals, Juve was demoted to the second division after the Calciopoli scandal. Thus, Zlatan was back on the move. This time, Inter Milan, and he excelled under Jose Mourinho. After scoring 15 league goals across all competitions in his debut season and 22 in his second back-to-back league victory, Zlatan decided in 2009 that he wanted to win in Europe and left for Spain to play for the current European champions. But Messi took center stage at Barcelona for the first time, replacing Zlatan as the team's star player. Ultimately, Zlatan moved again, returning to Italy, this time to join AC Milan, and this move proved to be crucial for him, even if he managed 21 goals in 35 games and 4 titles. He struggled to understand how Barca played and was even put out wide. The time we've been waiting for, because at this point he reached the pinnacle that the rest of the world was unable to accept. You see, Zlatan was supposed to be the face of the AC Milan team, which was being assembled with a combination of youth and experience. At the age of 29, he was at the height of his physical potential, a commanding 6'5" target man who could do anything in the future. During his first season following his return, and he contributed 34 goals to Milan's 42 games in Italy, with 22 goals and 12 assists in 42 games. Zlatan did more than simply score goals. He also assisted in setting up others to score, as evidenced by his 12 assists for a center forward. By his own standards, the 2010-11 season was passable, but he managed to improve upon it the next year. Zlatan was having a field day with 35 goals and 11 assists in 44 games. He was named the league's best scorer, taking home the Capo Cannoniere trophy after finishing Serie A with 28 goals and 8 assists. In 8 Champions League games, he scored 5 goals and 4 assists, including one against his old team, Barcelona, Ibrahimović's goal in the Italian Super Cup final against Inter Milan. In addition to scoring goals and providing assists, Zlatan displayed incredible dribbling and technique that year. The wealthiest club in France had had enough at the end of that campaign, and they were now certain that Zlatan was the player they needed to elevate the team to new heights. They were willing to spend big money on him to get him to the French capital. PSG wanted to establish themselves as one of the best clubs in Europe going forward, and adding a player like Zlatan was a statement of intent. This was true even after the billionaire acquisition. PSG hadn't won the league since 1994. Zlatan, who is 31 years old, is still in peak physical shape from a few years ago, but adjusting to a new league and system was always going to be difficult, or at least it should have been, because Zlatan isn't like other players. Zlatan concluded the 2012-13 League One season, his first in Paris, with 35 goals and 17 assists in 46 games. This wasn't typical. Zlatan was the star of every major match that PSG participated in that season. Zlatan provided an assist on each of the 4 goals in the 4-0 Champions League victory over Dinamo Zagreb. He scored and provided an assist in the first leg of the quarterfinal matchup with Barcelona, and he also scored in the second leg. In 34 league games, he recorded 30 goals and 10 assists. However, it was with the Swedish national team that Zlatan earned his name. In the November 2012 encounter against England, Zlatan scored 4 goals against a side that included Wayne Rooney and Joe Hart in goal. Declaring that he scored 4 goals is one thing, but which one was his best? a bicycle kick that is 40 yards away. I believe FIFA closed the polls for that year as soon as they realized this. Zlatan won the following year's Puskas Award with a 40-yard stunner. It's absurd to consider that Zlatan has just been in Paris for one season. He improved considerably further in his second tenure. Zlatan had never reached the 40-goal plateau in his career prior to this season. Now that he was 32, he ought to have been slowing down a little, but instead, he increased his pace. 46 games, 41 goals, 17 assists. When we break this down, Zlatan contributed to PSG's victory. Once more, the league in which he was instrumental. Zlatan scored 26 goals in the 33 Liga 1 games he participated in, but the world saw him more prominently during the Champions League. He scored 4 goals in that match as well, and this goal against Anderlecht was so spectacular that it might have earned him a second Puskas Award. Although Zlatan's record of 10 goals in 8 games was incredible, PSG may have lost in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Cristiano Ronaldo was the only player with more, with 17, and he played in more games than Zlatan with 11. That year, he nearly single-handedly led Sweden to the World Cup by scoring twice against Portugal in the playoffs. Zlatan was in the groove before they were eliminated in the semifinals. That season, he scored 3 goals or more 5 times. Zlatan finished 4th in the Ballon d'Or standings at the conclusion of 2013. It's crazy to be ranked as the 4th best player in the world at 33. But Zlatan wasn't finished yet. That year, he and Sweden did not attend the World Cup, and Zlatan was well rested for the start of the new campaign. More goals, at least initially, are the only thing that can be expected from a fully rested and fit Zlatan. You see, Zlatan had a few bothersome ailments that season, and his vocal nature also somewhat cost him. He received a red card in the Champions League round of 16 second leg against Chelsea, in addition to a Liga 1 ban for making disparaging remarks about the referees. But over the course of 37 games, he still achieved a respectable 30 goals and 8 assists. It's absurd to consider how any center forward in the game now would consider a 30-goal season to be a major accomplishment. Zlatan was that man for real. Zlatan helped PSG win the domestic quadruple that season, and with 102 goals at the end of the campaign, he was second on PSG's all-time top scorers list. He came so close to making the record his own in just 3 seasons, and you could expect that his final season with the team would be unforgettable. With goal number 110 in October 2015, Zlatan had risen to the top of PSG's all-time scoring charts. Many of his detractors from the previous season believed that he had reached retirement age and would soon be leaving the team. Zlatan, though, was still at the top of his game and wanted to have the greatest season of his career. And he carried it out. With 51 games played in that season, Zlatan scored 50 goals for the first time in his career. It's insanely underappreciated to score 50 goals during a time when Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were both the dominant players in sport. That season he recorded a record 38 goals in Liga 1, scored in 5 straight Champions League games, and added 13 assists to demonstrate his ability to find his teammates. He scored 7 goals and provided 2 assists in 6 games at the Coupe de France. 50 objectives. He was also handy for Sweden. You see, in 2016, they had advanced to the European playoff finals. To advance, all they needed to do was defeat Denmark. However, it was not going to be an easy task, particularly up against a Danish team that also intended to advance far in the competition. Zlatan scored in the opening leg to give Sweden a 2-1 victory. Returning to Denmark, Zlatan once again proved to be crucial in the game that would decide the outcome. Scored both goals in the tie of 2-2. Here, Zlatan has accomplished something truly miraculous. Zlatan loved to play video games. He relocated to the MLS in 2018 to play for the LA Galaxy, and he has an impressive record there. He scored 53 goals and provided 15 assists in 58 games for La Galaxy thanks to goals like these. Before declaring retirement a few years ago, he won the Scudetto when he returned to Milan in 2021. Zlatan took on every task. Even though he didn't win the Ballon d'Or or the Champions League, he can still take pride in becoming the highest scorer for the Swedish national team with 62 goals, making PSG famous and scoring more than 500 goals in his career. God bless you. After watching this, you haven't subscribed to Goal Zone yet? You're missing out, man. To see more, press that channel button.